Packers 28, Bears 21. This one ended not too long ago, so we're still kind of reacting to this one here in the moment. But Packers pull off the big win here, Chris. Jordan Love, 3 touchdowns in this one. We learned a lot about this offense, but what'd you see from the Packers here today?
It's just so unnecessary with the off the back foot throws from Jordan Love. Do we have to keep watching? I can't, man, because it's always fun to watch in the moment, but I'm almost thinking one of these days where it's just, if that ball is just going to fall completely off target or it's going to turn into interception. But at least in this game, we were still able to see Christian Watson lead the way from a touchdown and also production standpoint. I mean, we were talking about him earlier today where, yes, Jaden Reed being there and also Matthew Golden being active would probably take away some of his upside, but you can see the way that Love likes to play, a guy like Christian Watson, who, again, I cannot say this enough. I mean, the man had an ACL tear surgery this calendar year, and he's out here doing this. I mean, able to just completely break off guys at the stem of his routes and gain separation on some of those either slants or crossing patterns. I mean, Watson's second touchdown, I thought, was just one of those. I mean, you are a true athlete and a solid wide receiver at that position where you can create that level of separation, just create an explosive on just what seemed to be just a pedestrian type of route. But when you have a guy like Watson doing it, and of course Love to execute the throw, that's what you get. But outside of that, good to see Jaden Reed getting mixed in, not just as a slot receiver, but also on a couple of end arounds or getting the ball in his hands fairly quickly. So I'm assuming at some point over the next couple of weeks, we should see his route share start to tick up and also his targets as well. But those are the 2 big takeaways, at least for me, from the Packers passing game.
Yeah, some of that fadeaway stuff is rough from Jordan Love, but it's also a big reason why some of the numbers that we showed today about like his work against the blitz was so good, because he'd be just seconds away from getting clobbered back there, and he's able to do that fadeaway throw. So it's a live by the sword, die by the sword. He is that type of quarterback. That is who Jordan Love is. And look, the Packers have been doing a lot of living by that sword lately, ever since that kind of those 2 games where they got upset by the Panthers, and then they had that disgusting game, I think it was Monday night, against the Eagles. Ever since then, this offense has definitely been clicking, and Christian Watson's emergence is a huge part of this. I'm glad you brought him up here. I mean, he was number 1 in terms of route percentage for the Green Bay Packers today, only 73%. So they did rotate a little bit. It was classic Packers receivers that we had. Christian Watson, who's I think, to me, playing the best football of his career, period. Which is, as you said, insane that he tore his ACL in January. I don't think he's ever looked better than this, particularly against man coverage. Today, he had 72 yards and a touchdown, and both of his touchdowns, against man coverage in this one. Absolutely electric stuff. 21.6 miles per hour on the catch and run touchdown against man coverage here, as Rob Domofsky is showing us on the screen. He tore his ACL in January. It's insane. So you have that. You got Romeo Doubs having a nice season as the X receiver. Didn't catch anything today, but he's having a nice season. You got Jaden Reed back off IR. You got Matthew Golden active for this game. You had Dontavian Wicks having the game of his friggin' life on Thanksgiving last week, and it was converted, cornerback wide receiver hybrid. Bo Melton catches a 45-yard touchdown on a sick throw from Jordan Love. Classic Packers receiver stuff. But I think what we did see here today is that there's a little bit of consolidation in this wide receiver room, which is Watson as the 1 primary outside receiver. Dobbs is kind of the stationary X receiver. And then Jaden Reed runs a route on 62% of the dropbacks here, 25% targets per route. He got rush attempts as well. And he really did help them kind of activate some of that man coverage stuff. Not always as the targeted player, but he cleared out a lot of space on that play that Christian Watson gets wide open, or not gets wide open, but has that huge runway down the middle of the field that we showed earlier with the next gen stats dots. So just having that full arsenal here makes a huge difference for the Packers offense.
Without a doubt. And of course, when you still have a running back like Josh Jacobs, or even when it was Emmanuel Wilson spelling them, the play call and the design of the offense is good enough such that Jordan Love won't always see those, let's say, long down and distance situations once you get into 3rd down, because let's say even this game where Josh Jacobs was mostly bottled up through like a lot of the early down runs, you still have Jordan Love able to get the ball out to Jaden Reed on a couple of 3rd downs. He had one to Reed on the left sideline where it's like he just flicks the ball out there. There's Jaden Reed and picks up like 6 or 7 yards in order to move the chains. Afterwards, he had a deep shot to Luke Musgrave that got overturned on replay. But even those types of ancillary receivers that can pop up just for a play or two, that allows them to get the ball, convert the series, and then of course then he gets back to Christian Watson, he gets back to Jaden Reed, and then of course having Josh Jacobs there working as well. It's just every one of their skill players right now at least play well enough in their roles that it just all intersects at Jordan Love. So it is fun to watch, but like you were saying earlier, you live by the sword, die by the sword. But right now they really are this living by it, and that's why they're able to pull off this win against the Bears.
Let's talk about those Bears here. Starting with the run game, 51.9% rushing success rate on the day. That was 5th best here in week 14 so far, and yet they did not break a run longer than 9 yards. No 10-plus yard runs on the day for these Bears running backs. So you can kind of call that bottled up for this committee here, but still 82 yards for DeAndre Swift, 57 for Kyle Monangai. So they moved it. They just didn't have any big plays, which put a lot of burden on Caleb Williams in the passing game. And Chris, it was rough in the first half. 6 of 14 completion rate in the first half for Caleb Williams, but 13 of 21 in the second half, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the interception that ended the game ultimately, which was a 4th down kind of heave into the end zone. So I don't know. I come away feeling okay about the Bears passing game. You know, this was close. It was a competitive game. They used a ton of play action in the second half. 134 of Caleb Williams' 144 yards came on play action in the second half. So they really leaned into that despite the run game not ripping off these big plays. And his sack evasion, I thought, was really on display in this one as well. 16 pressures, just 1 sack, according to Next Gen Stats for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and I know we talked maybe 2-3 weeks ago just about how much we can at least try and at least attest to the structure that Ben Johnson wants to create for that offense. But, Caleb Williams likes to play out of structure. And I also honestly thought that this was probably the best marriage of how much Caleb Williams likes to play that backyard boot action type of structure for the passing game, where you saw him rolling out of the pocket almost drop back after drop back. And that's where it allows him to kind of create out of structure or create on the fly. And that's where couple of passes down the right sideline, or even that touchdown. His sidearm throw touchdown to Olamide Zaccheaus. I thought it was an interception first off, and then the fact that he was able to get that throw through, I think it was it Keyshawn Nixon's hands, I believe, in order to complete the touchdown throw. But it's stuff like that where I would say I almost came away a little bit more confident that this marriage between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams is going to work, because he's finding ways to at least keep Caleb Williams in that mentality of, I can still create, I can still do things down the field. So even without Rome Odunze on the field, seeing him work and access some of, like, whether it was Cole Kmet, whether it was, of course, Colston Loveland, that's where I at least see how this offense can continue to be somewhat efficient from the pass game perspective. But I think it's all pretty much predicated on how well they can perform on the ground.
Yeah, no question. The other throw that was crazy from Williams today was the Cole Kmet, like, down the right sideline play as he was getting out of the pocket. That was an unbelievable throw from Caleb Williams. But, the accuracy does have to get better at some point. There's no question. But the flashes are really high for Williams. And this was, again, an overall very rocky game, but the second half was encouraging. You mentioned no Rome Odunze. He was not available in week 14. He might not be available for a while. He's got a stress fracture that this sneaking suspicion for me that he's been playing with a foot injury, stress fracture in his foot. I don't know. He might miss a few more weeks with that. That is not an easy injury to just play through. Although Jaden Reed, I think, tried to play through a foot fracture at some point early this year, and he was playing through it. But I don't know. We'll see. So with no Rome Odunze in this game, I had a sneaking suspicion this might happen and people would be upset about it. They basically just took no Rome Odunze and put Olamide Zaccheaus into his vacated move around inside out role, and really didn't change the deployment for DJ Moore or Luther Burden. My point about Odunze this year is that he has been handling a lot of roles in the offense from like a pre-snap move around perspective in the blocking game. And like Zaccheaus is the veteran receiver that they like, the trusted guy. So they didn't really change anything for Burden or DJ Moore. Burden was still efficient when he got the ball and when he was targeted, but he did not play more. 64% route participation, and DJ Moore kind of continues to unfortunately be a little bit of a nothing burger in this offense.
Yeah, and that was something of a surprise for me because I know everybody's been excited to see how much more Luther Burden can really take on this offense, especially after, what was it, week 4, when he caught that deep flea flicker for a touchdown. And it's just like, we want more of that. We want more of the explosives. We essentially just want more of Burden and less of Zacchaeus or even DJ Moore to some extent. But still, I'm kind of with you where it's like, there has to be some level of understanding what the entirety of the offense is going to be. And I'm just wondering if Ben Johnson has some reservations about whether or not that's going to be the case for Burden, at least
Yeah.
at this part of his career. So it's just, I would say, I'm not too terribly surprised that this is where he's at, but still at the same time, it's good that with the extra opportunities that he had, we can see how he can fill into that wide receiver 2 role, if not towards over the last few games of this season, but definitely in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, totally agree. I think 2026 will be the year that Luther Burden really breaks out, and we'll continue to see kind of flashes this year. So yeah, that's kind of the way I'm viewing him. I don't think he's going to at some point emerge to be like a must-start player in fantasy because of just they're trying to grow him a little bit. And he flashes a lot of really good things, but there are some little kinks in his game that he does kind of need to iron out from a man coverage perspective, just running routes at the right depth, stuff like that. But still very promising rookie season, and I think a promising day for him today as a future prospect. Let's get to another divisional game here. This was Steelers 27, Ravens 22. Steelers, man, just when you think they're backed up into a corner, classic Steelers win here. DK Metcalf had a monster game, season high 36% target share for DK Metcalf. He had only been over 30% one other time this year. Frankly, he'd only been over like 28% one other time this year. Only more than 8 targets one other game this year. So I've been surprised that Metcalf is not inhaling more volume in this offense. He sure inhaled it today and had a monster game along with the rest of the Steelers offense, despite the fact that the running backs had just 32 yards on 14 carries.
Yeah, and this will look like almost vintage Aaron Rodgers in terms of how quickly he was just ripping that ball down the sidelines. I mean, whether it was to DK Metcalf or even seeing a couple of the other ancillary receivers pop up for a couple of games here and there. I mean, 2.51 average time to throw, no sacks. So it really didn't matter what they were trying to throw at him, the Ravens defense from a defensive standpoint. I mean, it looked like, and also just looking at his next gen stats chart, it looked like there was only maybe 4 to 5 attempts from Aaron Rodgers across the middle of the field. But looking at how well DK Metcalf was able to play on the perimeter, I can understand that because it was just time after time, it was either him or let's say maybe even Calvin Austin, like shaking loose and beating one of the Ravens defenders and just picking up chunk games here and there. And so, yeah, to your point, I mean, just 10 targets for Metcalf, or a little over 10 targets for him in this game. First time with double-digit targets since week 6 of last season. I mean, so that's crazy to think about how long it's been since we've really seen DK Metcalf get into that, like, just high end, like wide receiver 1 type of opportunity. 77% of the team's air yards. And I'm with you. I was also thinking that looking at the rest of the talent around him, we would have seen more games and more levels of opportunity for him, but at least good enough to do that, especially in a divisional win that they needed to have.
Oh man, a few inbreakers there on the DK Metcalf route chart, but a lot of just like verticals down the field. So it's been a strange year for the Steelers offense. It's been a strange marriage with a lot of these weird bedfellows here, and yet pretty good game here against a division rival. The Ravens, meanwhile, they put up 22 points. Lamar Jackson did bounce back from a fantasy perspective, had himself a nice game. Could have been even better if the Isaiah Likely touchdown, did he make a football move? Did he not? It could have been better if that play stood, and yet it did not stand. The real hero for the Ravens today was Zay Flowers, who had 124 receiving yards of Lamar Jackson's 219 passing yards.
Yeah, and looking at it, seeing Lamar in the first half didn't really look all that well. I mean, just 64 passing yards by the end of the second quarter, along with an interception and a sack. I mean, he scrambled a few times. I think he had maybe like 15, 20 rushing yards like off of those scrambles, but just didn't look completely right. But I agree that I could almost see Ian Hartitz tweeting out yet another reason why Lamar Jackson's day could have looked a little bit better just based off of the things that went wrong. Because what was it? Zay Flowers, he misses him, or like I think Flowers dropped a potential touchdown. Rashad Bateman dropped a touchdown. And of course, the Isaiah Likely no TD. We could have really been looking at Lamar Jackson being back into the QB1 status that we've expected out of him throughout the entire year. But for Zay Flowers, I mean, seeing it was just crossing routes, slants, out routes. I mean, you could really see just the level of route running that Zay Flowers. I think honestly, I've seen out of him for the past couple of seasons really start to come on. But it was his first 100-yard game since week one. And so I'm hoping to see that this kind of the impetus for Lamar Jackson and honestly for Todd Monken to continue to keep Zay Flowers involved in this passing game, because throughout the middle parts of the season, it just seemed like he's been a ghost outside of maybe a few, I guess, explosive plays here and there.
Yeah. I don't really feel good about this Ravens offense, even with Lamar having a nice fantasy day. I thought Lamar was still a little off for a wide chunk of this game. Some of the pass catchers making mistakes, here and there. I don't know. The Ravens right now would be out of the playoffs if the season started today. If postseason started today, the Steelers, of course, are winning the division. So we'll see what happens down the stretch. I don't really have faith in any of these AFC North teams, but yeah, I don't view the Ravens as some sleeping giant at this point. Like, that dream is long dead. And I think they kind of need to have some serious conversations about this offense and what's happened to it this year, because they were just a juggernaut last season, and it's largely the same cast of characters. And I know Lamar obviously has been not 100% healthy even when he's been available for this year, but man, it has not been a fun season. Derrick Henry, to our colleague Jory Epstein today, Ravens 3-5 record at home. Derrick Henry says it hurts. Just defend your home turf. Definitely should have a better record at home. Yeah, a lot of things should be going better for the Baltimore Ravens, and they are not right now.